Hello and welcome back to Vox Terra. Today, let me start with this from Demoracy Now. October 27th of 2022, a group of progressive Democrats in the House of Representatives this week sent, then retracted, a public letter urging the Biden administration to engage in direct diplomacy with Russia to end the war in Ukraine while continuing to arm and support the government in Kyiv. Now, I read another article in NPR on this one. Apparently, that letter was drafted or signed way back in June, and some people are like, oh no, things have changed. Look, this is a problem tactically for the Democrats to retract this, and in my opinion, it's a problem objectively for humanity, especially if you find yourself voting Democrat for the reasons that I do. I mean, first, tactically for the Dems, look, the Republicans are more openly divided on this blank check of military support for Ukraine. Citing again back to Demoracy Now, from October 24th this time, Republican leadership has split. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell urged President Biden on Friday to send more military aid and vowed a Republican Senate would continue backing the funding. But House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy said the U.S. should not deliver blank checks to Ukraine. And the article noted that since the start of this war, the U.S. has granted over $60 billion in military aid and other assistance to Ukraine. Now look, if you're a liberal, if you're a Democrat, I believe you should question this. Both the fossil fuel industry and the defense industry have their own ways of marketing and perpetuating their industries. And this is at least in large part why fossil fuels have gone unchecked and our planet is now superheating and we are still in a state of endless wars in the 21st century. If you remember my show from the outset of the Russian invasion, where I sort of showed how this might look to the Russian point of view, the underreported, undertold side of it, that I think is really important if you ever want to get to pro-peace. Well, one, please remember, if you grew up during the Cold War, we, in quotes, really hectored that Soviet Union until they cracked open like an egg and privatized all those public assets, creating a class of billionaires and then poor people. And it looks like, to anybody, the part of the promise made in that crack up was going to be that NATO wasn't going to keep expanding. Well, I showed you a 1997 article from the New York Times saying, hey, guess what? The defense industry is lobbying hard to expand NATO. Little attention, little news, down the memory hole, forgotten. So please remember, we've used so-called right-wing movements like the Mujahideen in Afghanistan, again, down the memory hole, forgotten, to hector that Soviet Union. Now that 2014 coup in Ukraine that I haven't done a show on yet, but I did a little looking into it again to refresh my memory for you. First of all, I'm remembering at the time, the way the media portrayed it was, oh, you got this, it's an elected government, but it's corrupt and it's tied to Russia. And then they almost celebrated the coup. Well, underreported, but there at the time, and you can corroborate this to mainstream news sources, I'm not going woo-woo-woo conspiracy land here, is that within that coup, that movement to topple that so-called friendly Russian government, were extreme nationalists and right-wingers and even what many are claiming are neo-Nazis within the Azov battalion. But all that barely mentioned down the memory hole. So now if you think of yourself as a liberal, a Democrat, and you're really cheering on the takedown of Russia here, well, think about that. That coup that, our media covered really favorably, it was almost like as if this was the U.S. and the January 6th coup succeeded. So what's really going on here? Now come really fast forward to today, and in the lead up to Russia's invasion, when they had all these troops amassing on the border, underreported, but there it was Russia demanding, hey, stop expanding NATO. We don't want Ukraine in NATO. We already got troops on our border in Latvia and everywhere else. Just calling the line here at Ukraine. And they also had a demand for denazification, again, going back to these things of the Azov battalion. Well, ignored by our media. Instead, largely ignored. I mean, I'm getting it from our media. I'm not going to some secret undercover place here. But instead, what was emphasized was pundit after pundit. What's Putin's game? And the media really egged Biden on, because I hear, oh, he's not tough on Russia. He's not strong. He's weak. And that was going on in conservative news media outlets, which now are questioning Biden for doing this, but I heard them, egging Biden on. He's a weakling. Okay, there you go. So I am urging you, if you're in the Democratic Party, you're a progressive Democrat, diplomacy is the right way to go. There needs to be an opposition. Whether you agree with me or not, you cannot cede the pro-peace, pro-diplomacy to the Republicans, especially not now, because the stakes are really too high. You're looking at one nuclear conflict on a heating planet. This is the 21st century. And the fossil fuel industry and the defense industry have reigned supreme in our government, politics, and media. And this is the result. Well, yeah, I hope you found this helpful, this analysis interesting. Please make sure you're subscribed to my channel. You click the notification bell. You're liking, you're commenting. You're donating a Patreon. So thank you, Bella Grissi and Environmental Coffee House. And until next time, and as always, peace be with you.